In the early hours, when most feeds are still half asleep, a shaky hallway clip manages to wake the entire timeline. A door closes somewhere off frame. A phone dips to catch a sliver of movement, and two quiet words leak into the mic. Not now. The video is grainy, the angle is awkward, and yet the echo lands hard. Comments stack in seconds. Was that the meeting? Are plans being pulled? Did something get shelved? We are not here to hand down verdicts. We are here to follow what people are claiming, compare their stories, and ask why so many details are surfacing at once. People who claim proximity describe a quiet room away from the main facility. Blinds half shut. A long table with bottled water nobody touched. On one side sat the fighter who turned confidence into currency. On the other sat handlers who count risk in calendar lines, broadcast windows, and contract commas. According to that chatter, the tension was not about one number. It was about tone, pressure, and how much noise the system can absorb before it starts throwing off sparks. Someone present allegedly put it flat. We can't fight noise with more noise. A second voice, the one fans swear they can recognize, came back lower. People only hear me when I speak. We cannot verify that exchange. We can only note that it matches the mood of the day. While the hallway clip loops, a second ripple. It's a screenshot of a brand email with a one-word subject appears on a large fan account. Pause. The body text is blurred. The name's blacked out. Maybe it is staged. Maybe it is routine. Maybe it is exactly what it looks like. A cooling period dressed as breaking news. Either way, the comments split immediately. They are out. It is standard review. This is damage control. Uncertainty is fertile soil. Narratives sprout like weeds after rain. Somewhere in the flood of takes, a measured voice adds, brands always slow down when headlines heat up. That seems plausible. It also does not prove anything. Online plausible often gets treated like proven, and that is how small ripples become riptides. Not long after, training room footage lands. Headgear on, gloves up, pace light but exact. The fighter rolls under a hook, comes up smiling, taps his partner on the shoulder and says, "Again." The clip ends before anyone really breaks a sweat, and instantly, two new camps form. One camp sees a calm rhythm, a team refusing to be dragged around by headlines. The other camp sees a mood that is not fully locked. That is the cost of being watched from every angle. Each frame becomes a riddle, and every viewer supplies their own answer. When you become a symbol, even your warm-ups are read like tea leaves. Media follows the scent. At an availability for a different card, a few questions bend toward the situation everyone is discussing, but nobody wants to define out loud. The promoter, usually direct during busy weeks, stays measured and keeps the lines short. We will see. When we have something, you will know. Nothing to announce right now. On most days, these are ordinary phrases. Today, they e.g. feel loaded. Maybe because the room wanted certainty and got caution, maybe because the collective mood turned neutral words into headlines. What matters for our purposes is not whether those lines hide a secret, but that they signal a boundary. Nobody inside is ready to add fuel. Meanwhile, a locker room anecdote makes the rounds. One account swears there was a flare-up after sparring. Another calls that pure invention. A third, trying to split the difference, says voices got sharp, but nobody crossed a line. Then an audio fragment appears. Footsteps, the click of a bottle, cap, a door hinge, and two faint lines. This is not helping, and let them talk. Context is missing, the source is unclear, and that makes it a perfect canvas for projection. This is how the modern cycle turns noise into narrative. Fragments pretend to be portraits, and our expectations paint the rest. Friends and relatives weigh in without weighing in. A longtime teammate shares an old photo from a championship week. The caption is a single lightning emoji. Some fans read, "Storm incoming." Others read, "Remember who he is." A late-night story from someone tied to the home circle simply says, "Every empire gets tested," replies fracture in familiar ways. Unwavering loyalty in one row, tough love in the next. The chorus that once sang in one voice now sounds like intertwined melodies. Still familiar, pitched in different keys. Behind the curtain, there are, reportedly, two paths on the table. Path 1 is radio silence. No tweets, no lives, no quotes. Just gym, family, hydration, sleep, repeat. Path 2 is narrative ownership. One sit down, long form, uncut, laying out what went wrong, what is being repaired, and what comes next. Both roads have logic. Silence can starve a fire of oxygen. Yet in an era where quiet reads like a confession, some prefer the light on. Wherever you turn, the paradox waits. What you do not say becomes a statement, and what you do say becomes a target. Before a choice is made, another thread bumps the feed. Someone leaks a calendar screenshot with a small red X floating on a tentative fight week. Underneath sits tiny text that reads, "Not final." The internet is allergic to the words "not final." Explanations bloom instantly. Minor injury, travel window, broadcast reshuffle, negotiation posture, medical clearance in limbo, or nothing at all. The only solid point is the stacking of layers. Each alone looks harmless. Together they feel heavy, like a backpack filling one item at a time. That night, the fighter's account posts a shadowy gym photo with a 3-word caption. Work. Fixes everything. Replies split as they always do. Back to basics, from the faithful. Words are not repairs, from the exhausted. Performance is one arena, perception another. Every upload becomes a vote, every emoji a ballot, every share a volunteer on one side or the other. By morning, the same image appears in fan montage videos, some triumphant, some accusatory, all certain in opposite directions. A veteran reporter known for caution threads a line meant to lower the temperature. Hearing multiple parties. Prefer a cooling period. No rushed statements. That sentence might be the most sensible one we have seen all week. In practical terms, it can mean the room is catching its breath, that paperwork is crawling like paperwork does, or that people want to talk like people before they talk like brands. In public terms, even prudence gets spun. Cooling period equals trouble in one corner. Cooling period equals maturity in another. The truth could be as simple as time buying clarity. Then comes the small exchange that anchors the cycle. At a presser focused on logistics few outside the hardcore care about, a question sneaks in anyway. The promoter does not blink. We will talk when there is something solid. Right now, let people do what they need to do. Not a decree, not a dagger, just a boundary. Today, though, boundaries sound like announcements. One group hears gentle backing. Another hears calculated distance. A third hears nothing at all. And oddly, that silence feels the loudest. Pull back from the feed for a moment and look at gym culture, the place where talk burns off and routine remains. Discipline does not brag. It leaves evidence. Some days, the grid is heavy with polished marketing frames. Other days, it is shaky phone clips of mitt rounds, footwork drills, hands on knees, long exhales, someone staring at the floor until the heartbeat slows. The same gallery can prove opposite theories, because we do not just watch with eyes. We watch with hopes and fears that bend the light. Public mood keeps seesawing. Give the man space, one thread says. No more passes, the next insists. A fan made highlight reel stitches, old wins with a soaring score and captions that plead, remember why we watched. Another commentator, steady-eyed, offers a cold line. Adoration ends where accountability begins. Both ideas can be true. Maybe that is the real complication. We want simple heroes and simple villains, but careers are just people managing momentum, money, memory, and mornings that demand effort even when the cameras are not around, beneath. All the thumbnails and threads sit the stakes. Legacy is at the table. Are you who you were? Or can you craft a page that belongs beside your best nights without pretending they never happened? Trust is at the table too. The audience you pulled into your orbit wants honesty when the glow dims, and business, indifferent and precise, is always at the table. Every statement carries downstream effects. Speak, and markets move. Stay quiet, and markets still move. All that changes is shape and speed. Most fans, whether loyalists or skeptics, want the same thing: clarity. The trouble is that clarity often collects a short-term fee, and teams are built to minimize pain. One school says wait for the dust to fall and then assess. The other says open the blinds and let the room breathe. Both can work. Both can misfire. There is no universal script, only imperfect choices and their ripples across broadcast grids, sponsor decks, and people's patience. Late at night, that hallway clip resurfaces. Someone brightens the frame, cleans a trace of audio, slows it to catch a sliver more detail. It still will not give up anything decisive. Top comment reads, "Funny how the loudest sound right now is silence." Maybe that is the most honest read available. When rooms are busy with quiet plans, the outside world gets busy with loud guesses. We are not here to turn guesses into gospel. Our lane is narrower and, hopefully, more useful. Set each piece on the table, label what is confirmed and what is claimed, and let the audience read the board for themselves. For tonight, that board shows a closed door, a careful statement, a restless crowd, and a story that is being shaped by what is said and what is not said in equal measure. By morning, the clip had been posted, cropped, brightened, muted, remixed, and relabeled so many times that the timeline felt like a hall of mirrors. The mood, though, stayed the same. A little colder, a little tighter, like everyone was breathing through their nose. A family account shared a quiet photo of Sunday tea with a caption that read, "Stillness is a skill." Comments split along the same fault line as the night before. "Love this. Reset." "Cute, but where's accountability?" Nobody inside offered a correction or a confirmation. What people got instead was a rhythm. No hard denial, no hard admission. Just that slow hum you get when a machine is still on, but the lights are dimmed. Around midday, whispers circled about a conference. Call with brand partners. We cannot certify who joined or what contract pages were open. We can only repeat what multiple industry voices claimed privately. The phrase they kept using was, "conditions precedent." Not a termination, not a celebration. Something in between. A pause with homework. A version of the alleged ask went like this: 30 quiet days, no flare-ups, minimal heat, and one community-forward appearance that feels real. Maybe that's how these things always go when headlines stack. Maybe it's myth. The only visible proof was an email subject that said pause, and a week where nobody posted photos of champagne. From the training side came a gentler rotation. A coach, not one of the loud ones, posted a mid-camp drill with a line that read, "Basics save lives." The comments tried to pull him into a statement. He didn't bite. A sparring partner liked the post, but didn't share it. Someone else, a strength guy from a different era, wrote a long, late-night caption about discipline and noise. It read a little like a subtweet, a little like a love letter to hard rooms. The top comment asked if he was talking about Conor. He edited the caption an hour later to remove names. The damage, if any, was already done. When a sport is this small and this loud, even an edit becomes a new headline for people who never saw the original. There was also a thread about a sit-down that didn't happen. A credible platform, the type that posts clean interviews in a white room, allegedly had a slot open with the promoter. The rumor said it was floated as a way to put a hand on the thermostat, not as a takedown. Then, according to that same rumor, someone decided the timing felt wrong. Nothing was recorded. No chairs were warmed. Still, the idea of an interview that never existed traveled through feeds like it had already aired. Fans started quoting imaginary answers. That's the part of the cycle that always feels surreal. Speculation grows leaves, fruit, and seeds, and in a week you're spending real energy planting around a tree that was never there. On the personal side, the circle showed hairline fractures. That might be nothing or might be stress. A cousin followed, unfollowed, refollowed 2 known media personalities in one afternoon. A longtime friend turned stories off for a day. A family member posted a scripture about tests and desserts. 2 tabloids screenshotted all of it like forensic evidence. A fan wrote, "This is just people being people." Another replied, "This is the digital version of side-eye." Nobody was wrong. Everybody felt sure. Through the noise, a small piece of audio found its way into group chats. It sounded like a voice note, 8 seconds long, clipped at both ends, the way these things usually are. "I'm good, brother. Let's get to work." That was it. No names, no dates, no telltale background. Half the room decided it was recent. The other half decided it was synthetic or old. We can't tell you which half is right. We can only say that faith is a powerful filter. People listen with their hearts and then swear. They heard what the waveform never said. By afternoon, a new counter-narrative formed around the hallway clip. A small outlet claimed the footage wasn't last night at all, but last week, during a media walkthrough. The angle matched a door frame that appears in a different video from days earlier. If true, that would shrink the clip's explosive value and turn a lot of confident takes into air. If false, it would be an elegant deflection. The problem is, the same either way. Timestamp ambiguity is jet fuel. A team can prove it with metadata if they want. They didn't. The promoter, when asked offhand, shrugged the question back into the crowd. That shrug became its own headline, and the day spun on. Inside the gym, the tension showed up in small choices. A camera that usually lives close to the action shifted a step back. Drill audio, normally open, now had music layered over it. Captions that used to crack jokes went deadpan. To some, that looked like caution. To others, it looked like control. A fighter is both a person and a product. A camp is both a family and a set. This is not a cynical take. It's just acknowledgement that the modern game has 2 scorecards, and the second one counts in places where belts do not reach. One source, a retired coach with a reputation for bluntness, told a radio show, "Fighters don't spiral. Camps spiral." He wasn't pointing a finger at anyone specific. He was making a point about how teams absorb heat. When the outside gets loud, the inside has to get simple. Unanswered texts turn into resentment. Closed doors turn into theories. Small arguments. Wear big shoes. If you don't set a cadence, the cadence sets you. It was a good line, and like most good lines, it got cut into a clip and reapplied to situations it might not have been meant for, but it did articulate something fans had been feeling. This story is no longer about one punch or one post. It's about a whole room trying not to lose cohesion. The room didn't stay silent either. A conditioning coach, respected and rarely dramatic, posted the day's whiteboard, tempo runs, active mobility, heart rate zones, contrast showers, lights out at 10. It felt like a message to 2 audiences at once. To the athlete, you know the drill. To the world, nothing fancy, nothing broken. No statement, just groceries on the counter and a knife on the cutting board. A comment read, "This is boring." The coach liked that comment. Boring is sometimes the most radical response. By evening, a report trickled in about a brand-side requirement that felt strangely human. The alleged request wasn't an apology video or a glossy shoot. It was a visit to a community gym with no press, no hashtags, no logo wall. Just an hour with kids who dream in sweat and chalk. If true, it was either a sincere ask or a test of sincerity. If untrue, it was still the kind of rumor that reveals what people are hungry to see. In a week of posture, a small gesture that doesn't try to sell itself feels like a fantasy worth passing around. There were tougher tones too. A former training partner, Long Quiet, wrote a paragraph that stung without naming names. You can't keep asking the room to believe what the room no longer sees. The replies begged for clarity. He offered none. He didn't need to. The line traveled. Fans taped it to whatever side of the wall they already stood on. Within hours, a new rumor claimed the partner had been pushed out years ago and was still sore. Within more hours, another rumor said he had visited just last month and left disappointed. In this noise, everyone is both credible and compromised depending